south side, side. Mookie on the south side, side. It's Mookie on the south side, side. Mookie on the south side, side.
All right, welcome to this special edition. Just Made Media interviewing the artist himself, Pugs Atomz.
Wow.
Mookie on the Southside special edition. His last album produced by DJ Real One and Catch 22 with Head Knock Records.
What's up, Catch?
And that was this whole album was actually recorded and mastered at our studio, Just Made Media. So we're going to take this opportunity to kind of get into a little roundtable discussion about the album, the origins of the album, the recording process, and just, vibe out with the fellas, you know what I'm saying? So even before we get started, though, let's talk about where we're at. We're at Pugs Atomz studio here at the Chicago Cultural Center in the Learning Lab. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you acquired this residency and what you're doing with the space here.
Okay, cool. So welcome. We are in the Learning Lab, my studio, for 3 months. I'm working on part 2 of Mookie on the Southside, like all the paintings and sculptural pieces. So in the studio, I have a few things up just to give people an idea of, what I'm shooting for. But I was asked to do this. A few of my friends, Akil and Damon Lamar Reed, they were the artists in residence before me. Akil did like a music program. Damon, he based it on missing women of color in Chicago, because he does a bunch of large scale murals about that with the families. So I was in great company, and I was just like, what could I do? And I was like, let's focus on, the things I'm known for. So right now I do 4 days out of each month from 12 to 2 on the second and fourth Friday, Saturday, a t-shirt creating class, make your own brand, and design your own album cover. And so far it's been going really, really good. It's been amazing just to see the people and to catch up with some people I haven't seen in years, because they're just trooping through and they're like, oh man, you're here, that
Right.
kind of vibe. And then we just came and had the open house with you all. You had the whole team out playing beats, killing it, vibes, Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And also, I want to touch upon this booth that we're sitting on. I was amazed when I saw this. You wouldn't believe it. This whole booth folds up into one piece that can then be put into individual box. It could even serve as an individual seat, and then you could just take it with you. This was created for the biennial. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about who created this booth and what the event was for.
Okay, so I believe the Floating Museum was in charge of the space. So they had, a bunch of different things talking about space, ease of space, and like with this being kind of like an accordion, it could pop up anywhere. You could have this in a small studio, or you could have this in a large home and stretch it all the way out. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, no, I need that. Let's run it. Because they're like, do you want it? You want to throw it away? I was like, no, give me that. And it was like a stage here. I have like my tent on top of it and some other artwork. I like, leave it all. Let's go.
Yeah,
Big up to the Floating Museum, man. This piece is
big up
cold,
Floating.
man. I need this in the crib.
And surprisingly comfortable.
Yeah.
I was kind of nervous to sit on it, but it's very comfortable.
No, it actually supports everyone just fine, and it's made out of like a kind of like a paper or something.
Yeah.
And
it's like them folders they used to have at school. They will have like all your medical records, the little brown joint.
Yeah.
It's that kind of material.
Got you. And I think it's just very fitting of the kinds of things that you see around the Learning Lab here in your studio. Kind of has that like, made with your hands kind of feel. And these were young people that created this booth, right?
It probably was like some type of program. It was like a mix of like professional artists with some community members.
Right. Well, no, nonetheless, it's
But the speakers made by Made in Inglewood, that definitely had like kids, because that's like the basis of their practice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe we could talk real quick about how, some of the themes on this album, Mookie on the Southside. I know this has been a project that you've had going on now for like 2, 3, 4 years, or 3 years, I guess.
Yeah, since the pandemic. Yeah.
Since the pandemic, it jumped off.
I did like the first painting, and that painting sold before I was even finished. Like it was just like a studio visit from art enthusiast collector, and they were just like, I need that. And then from there, I was like, maybe that's going to be my guiding light. And then from there, it just kept building on what it could possibly be. So first it was just an art show with installations, and then from there it became a few different songs that I have recorded over the years. I mean, you're talking like probably the first record I would say that's Mookie on the Southside ish is my first album with Chips Pennium called Ghetto Style, produced by Kenny Keys.
Right.
That'll probably be the first song that's kind of delving into where I'm going, on this album. So
Mhm.
it's a lifelong project, I guess. Yeah.
Word up, word up. And yeah, someone like myself who's not from Chicago, I feel like you could listen to this record and it's like you take a journey with you,
Mhm.
through a real Chicago experience. And we had recorded this album maybe across like 4 months or something.
Mhm.
And
Like 4 sessions, yeah.
Yeah.
4 sessions, yeah. And sometimes you're so close to the project that it's not until you take a step away from it. And I hadn't listened to it in like 2 or 3 months. And about a month ago, I went back and listened to it. And I was like, man, this is like a real journey. It's like a chapter to chapter
Mhm.
kind of story, So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you and Real One and Catch started putting together the beats and where did the idea come, when it
Mhm.
finally came together to start recording the album.
Okay, so I mean, initially, like Real and Catch, they both would just send me beats randomly and be like, "Hey, this is what we're working on," or they'll show me like one of their projects or one of the artists, and it was more so to get me to play it on my radio show, and then they were like, "Hey, maybe you could do something to it." And at the point of us doing the album, I had like probably 4 Real One beats that I just had stashed because I was just like, I want to do something with them, but I want to do like a real thing. I don't want to just make a couple random songs. And the same with Catch. I had a couple of his beats just on ice. And then it was funny that, they had the label together. And then I think Catch opened up a group chat and was just like, hey, what do
Yeah.
you think if you did a whole album over our beats? We can make you a folder and you could pick from there. And it was just that simple. But I mean, we go back super long. I mean, we all did promo together, all, hosted parties together. They DJ'd for me many, many times.
And before I was even making beats, I think you did 1 or 2 songs with Catch already, right?
Yeah.
And then put out
because around maybe 98, 99, I started working with Catch.
And then you put out the first vinyl on Headknock Records as well.
Man of the People.
Man of the People.
Yeah, I was super, super geeked on that because it
that's
was kind of like a best of
exactly.
record.
Yeah, with Psalm 1 on that one. What track?
Yeah,
is
right.
that?
We tight.
Yeah, that's my
That's
joint
a
right
heavy
there.
one.
Yeah.
Big up to Yoda on the
Yes,
beat on that
yes,
one,
sir.
man.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Now everybody that buys that now is like, this
Yeah.
right be tight.
That's the joint right there.
And Real
classic.
One, maybe you could mention real quick, how long have you and Catch kind of been working together? How did that come about? Just so a quick little background so they can understand the context of like where your beats are coming
Right.
from and how that all comes into play when you finally start
Yeah.
working with Pugs.
We've been making music together for a long time, but it was a DJing. I should say we've been DJing for a long time, ever since the radio days of Columbia College, right down the street. I'd like to say maybe 97, 98 was when we kind of teamed up and started like hitting the scene hard, like doing a lot of parties and stuff. We would do all the clubs.
The mixtapes.
Yeah, mixtapes. How could I forget that? Mixtapes when they were cassettes, by the way.
Word.
And then Pugs, we started working with him on the promo aspect of hip hop. We would do labels like Def
Def
Jux, Stones
like
Throw.
all the big indies.
Yeah. And this is like right before those labels kind of blew up too. So we were there in the early phases of the promo game. So that's how we connected with Pugs. I mean, obviously we're all in the scene together at parties and stuff.
But imagine
But,
having 30
yeah.
copies of MF Doom's album and nobody wants it.
Oh man,
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
It
it's
was a
wild.
crazy time.
Yeah.
We had everything early.
We would go into stores and just put the flyers there for like Doom, and sometimes people wouldn't even grab them. But you see how big he is now. It's crazy when you look
It
back.
would always
at that
be
era.
later.
Yeah,
it would be like
it's
6
crazy.
months later. Then it's like, do you still have those?
Exactly.
You're like,
Yeah,
it's gone, man. We missed it.
I wish that I saved a lot of that stuff for my personal.
No, same.
Crazy.
Yeah, speaking of Doom, I mean, very inspirational to me. And I remember those days, just getting into like a lot of weird arbitrary debates about his lyrical content and stuff. And I would always say there's a lot in there. There's a lot of metaphor, you got to really go back and analyze it. And yeah, now he's turned out to be one of the most inspirational guys there is, going on for generations and generations,
Yeah, I mean, my son and a lot of his friends, they're into it. And that's just like,
Really?
wow, because it's not like any of us showing it to them.
Wow.
They just found it on their own.
No
That's
doubt.
crazy, man.
No doubt. So we have a lot of guests on the record throughout the Mookie on the Southside. Shawn Dippington, Audacity, he's on a few tracks.
Yeah.
Um
And he's always on every record I do.
That's right. That's one
He's
of your.
always in there. It's like my man, dude. It's like my son's godfather, all that. Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, and it was great working with him. Brought together a lot of energy in the studio sessions too. We was just really having a lot of fun those nights.
Nah. It took me back, man. I felt like I was, making my first album and just with my friends, just doing it. No stress.
Yeah,
And
it
just
felt
letting
good.
it be.
It felt good. We were just having fun, and I mean that's what my goal is when I make beats. I'm just in there. I'm not really trying to, hit it big or go be famous with a beat. I just do it for fun. So
Right.
when we were in that studio session, it brought me back to my college days when I would DJ at the club. Just because I wanted to make people dance. So this is the same concept. I was really having a good time with it,
Right.
and I'll never forget those sessions, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So he starts off the record with
Oh, man.
Shawn went live in traffic, right? And
the skit.
yeah. So that was cool.
When I
That
first heard that, man, I didn't know. Like, I was in the studio. I didn't know we were going to use that. Like, I was like, oh, he's just messing around. We're all cracking up, laughing. But then when I heard the track, when you sent it to me, I was like, I was dead, man. I could not stop. I was rolling, man. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
So,
he's a big improviser.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
with most of
my
the things we
guy.
do is kind of like I'll give a prompt or he'll give a
Yeah.
prompt and the other, follow suits.
I
But
did not
I was
see
figuring
that
out a way
coming, man.
to make
Yeah.
it human.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because most people's albums don't have any kind of skits
Right.
or that kind of comedic type
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like a perfect way. So you don't know what's gonna happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then right after that, you go right into the Jacob Reese Housepital song, which probably threw people for another curveball because they're thinking it's gonna come right into some hip hop. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about how that track came together too.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely a record because like Real already had the title in the name of the song, and I think I just added Michael Reese to it.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
was like
Oh,
Housepital, and like as soon as I saw it, I was like, he must be serious about this record. He's putting it up there for a reason because usually he only sends me like really boom bap type beats and no drum joints. And I was just like, oh man, this is like really dope. And it was like funny. I had this acapella of me and Audacity on this by Dean record, but the record it never came out. And I was just like, man, these lines would be dope on something else. And then I just started playing with it at the crib, and I was like, oh wow, we got that
Right.
part. And then just had what's his name? From the whoever's.
Are you talking
Jesse.
about?
Yeah, we had Jesse.
Yeah.
He just jumped in and he dribbled real quick because I had never really worked with him in the studio. I've only done stuff with J. Arthur where it's like I send him something and he sends it back.
With J. Arthur.
So
Right,
this is
right.
the first time seeing him like go. And I mean, he's just in there. Okay, I'm gonna write 4 lines. And yeah, I'm ready to go.
Because he
just
stuck
super-
around to the end too. Like some
he was
some
really
people
trying
came
to
to
fill
the
it all
session,
out. Yeah.
and they might have had something else going on. They had to head out, but he stuck around to the end of that session. And I remember where he was just penning it, and he's like, "Oh, let me get on now." He was ready to go. But the funny thing about Housepital, I don't know if you remember this, but originally it wasn't even supposed to be on the album because I think we only wanted, was it 10 tracks?
Yeah. It was like we had picked a number, and I'd already picked those because they sent me a lot of good beats, so it was really hard. But then it became more like what beats are going to be so different from the other to make them stand out. Because to me, I hate records where it kind of all blends in. Because I'm definitely like a road trip listener, where it's like I want to be fully involved your whole album. I don't really want to like 3 songs. I have no desire. Because I'm gonna toss it. I'm gonna like get that out of here.
It's just crazy because I remember, and I was so disappointed when it wasn't on the 10 beats that you picked.
Yeah.
And I remember sending you a message like, "Hey man, did you hear?" I was like, "Did you hear?"
He was a little offended.
Because I was like, "Man, I specifically made that one just for you." Like that one. I actually went in the studio and said, "Oh man, I'm gonna make a not house track, but just something wild."
Well, also at the beginning of it, it was kind of more, you all were kind of leading it. In the sense you guys were like, hey, we really want to make this record with you.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, they kind of had their vision
Right.
of like this boom bap-esque record.
Right.
So I was trying to just pick things within that realm. And then as we recorded like maybe the first song, then they're like, oh, you just do what you do, buddy.
Yeah,
whatever
we heard
you
that.
do, just go do your thing. And then from there, it started to get more abstract and more, trying to see what we can do.
Yeah, for sure.
Jay Arthur's part ended up really taking a nice kind of like feature aspect of that track, kind of brought the R&B voice on it, and it's just a great show starter. It's got the energy, the bass is big.
It's like a build.
It's a build up. You know what I'm saying? So that was nice. And then it goes right into the relief. You get right into the hip hop from there.
Yeah.
So let's tie it back. Let's go back to the pandemic now, when you
Mhm.
first started making the artwork and everything. So as you were recording and then thinking back to the time that you had made the paintings and sort of
Mhm.
getting some of the, what was it, that feeling that you were trying to capture in terms of like that,
Mm.
this narrative that you really wanted to impart on people throughout the whole record?
Well, it's just telling Chicago stories. I mean, that's really, I would say, what my practice is about. So preserving and then telling and retelling, or um, adding to, the oral history. So I mean, we start out with the intro just because a lot of comedians come from Chicago. This is a
That's
big
true.
place for that.
Yeah.
Then we do the house record because, again, that's what Chicago is known for.
Yep.
So now I done got out two of our exports,
Mhm.
and now let me start rapping now.
Right.
So it's presenting Chicago. That's really, and that's why the Mookie song's the last record,
Okay.
because it's like the full circle of seeing this story. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you kind of like merged a little bit of the concept of do the right thing with Spike, and which is obviously a Brooklyn, New York based
Mhm.
movie, but through that lens you kind of merge that concept and then you tell Chicago's story kind of
Mhm.
with that aesthetic.
But it gives you the year,
Okay,
because that movie, the year of that movie, tells you what years I'm talking about in Chicago.
okay,
Because there's certain things
Right.
that are like tellers. You're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. If you know what that is, then you know all the things that come with it.
Yeah.
What team won the basketball championship. Like all those little things to
right,
paint
right.
the story.
Right.
So then,
And that's what, like, all the little sound bites in it are from those same kind of events.
true,
Right.
true. Now I got the artwork right here. This was from the event that so when he had the record release event, that was at the Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a great time that night. This was the artwork. So this is a real painting. This wasn't just created digitally or anything. Pugs actually painted this painting, and I remember that night we kind of explained throughout the painting there's certain like signifiers, kind of like what you're saying, like
Mm-hmm.
from the years and stuff. So maybe you could break down the painting, the artwork a little bit.
Yeah, cool. So on the joint, I mean, first off, you
Actually,
got
right
the
here.
red
And, and,
hat.
and we got the
Yeah.
tapestry right
So
here
he's
too.
got like the nice like polo penguin long bill. That was like a grail piece back then. Then he's got like on the Italian Fiesta workers shirt with the Pugs Lee on the front. So tribute to Spike Lee, and then Italian Fiesta, that's Chicago's pizza for Al's Pizza in the movie. Then he's got on the Bulls shorts. And then he's got something funky happening on the feet. He's got like the Jordan 2, but with like the off-white treatment. So again, Chicago. And
Right,
then,
okay.
and then the young lady is like she's panicked, but really she's just listening to his headphones. Because
Word.
in those times, people will be like, "Yo, listen to this," and it'd be like a very awkward moment because you're just like, if I don't like it, what do I
What
say?"
are you saying,
And then
man?
also your ears could be gross, and I just put your headphones in my ear,
True.
So she's got like a trippy look, but then on the details, she's got on like a $1.50 bucket hat. So there's like the watch with the wings, super West Side, super South Side type thing, super Chicago, but by
Wow.
Briars. And then she's got on some nice Fendi shoes for the pop, and that kind of tells you we're in Hyde Park,
Hmm.
and that. But then you got Dr. Wax. This record store is like a foundational record store in
Yeah.
Chicago for a lot of artists, as they were like the first to really put us on in a way. Like, I mean, I would get $100 up front every 2 weeks, and I drop off 10 tapes, 10 CDs, and repeat that in 2 weeks, and a bunch of
Right.
other artists got to do the same thing. And then in the window is kind of the merging of me and Catch 22 and Real One with different flyers that kind of show different times in our lives. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. Pugs is a man of many talents, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that, you're able to bring all of this together, the visuals, the story, the narrative, it's quite a unique piece. All right, so yeah, let's continue to the record. So there was another song that had Jay Arthur and Shawn Dippington,
Forever,
the Forever Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That had kind of like the party vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Nah,
saying?
at the time I was listening to The Firm,
Oh.
some of like the B-side records.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I kind of like that vibe. So it's when I heard that beat and played around with it a little bit, moved some stuff around, we hit it. And I was like, yo, could you do like some type firm stuff? And I feel like Jonathan didn't know what I meant by that, but he still delivered. And then Audacity just freestyled the hook. real quick, and we were in there, man. I
Word.
mean, it was just a fun record to write.
Yeah, that hook is super catchy. A big shout out to my man Chase Calor, who's engineering for us behind the boards.
Chase.
Yes.
I remember the like the week after we recorded that, I was just at the job with him. So I was like, yo, just check out what we recorded last weekend. And he was like, oh, I love this. He was like, can I play this for my people? I was like, nah, it ain't out yet. But anyway, that was a cool moment. But he just, I knew that was a good sign. Like someone who wasn't too hip to your work yet. And he, younger, he's in his 20s. And he was
That's what music should be, though. Like, to me, I'm more focused on trying to make music for people that don't know me.
Word.
To just be like, that's cool, because I mean, for me, that's how I listen to stuff.
Right.
My iPhone is just full of random people's songs that are just like, that's a cool vibe. That made me feel good. So I mean, I just want to make a similar thing.
Word, and that's the spirit of creativity. You know what I mean? I know, to me, that's what hip hop is about. Hip hop should be inspiring your creativity, and instead of like thinking like, oh, hip hop's contained in a box, it should make you want to explore. It should make you want to.
Well, you want to break the rules after you know the rules,
No
so
doubt.
that you can create your own version.
True. So then we jump into the Art Bank. Big shout out to Mr. Misfit who jumped on that record.
He kind of forced my hand because like he was sending me like records from him and Stone Flacco's album. Okay. And on one of the songs, he says, Jewelry jingling in the background, it's me. And I was just like, bro, that is such a strong line. I was just like, dude, that's like really, I like that. I'm like, I need that. And like, I was just sitting with it and I was just like, oh man, I'll get him to say it. And then, I was playing with the beat because the way I write, I don't do it where it's like right now. I just kind of have these like folders and I'm just like, I feel like writing this right now. It's like real more the moment. Right. Because I don't want to force it. So if I can't freestyle the beat, I usually don't pick the beat. It's got to be a vibe. So anyway, I was like, yo, could you send me the acapella? So I chopped his acapella and I start placing it on the track. And I had already wrote my verse by the time we get to this part. But I was like, hey, would you be on the track? So at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I can obviously chop his vocals if he's on the track. It just totally negates that. And then he heard it, and then he was supposed to come, but he couldn't come to the session, and he just recorded on his own, and he sent it to me. And I was like, all right, cool, because he's got like a nice monotone and very opposite of my flow. So I felt like it would be a nice change up, because to me, I hate when songs get boring. That's like by far the worst. It's like, bro, nobody wants to hear the 3 verses, my guy, at all. So it's like you got to really create something within that time to keep people going. So he sent me the verse. I listened to it a bunch of times, and I was like, all right, let me see what else we could do. So I chopped up some things, moved some things, more like a DJ. And then I had Real add some extra scratches.
That's right.
Well, what's funny is I remember in the studio, we actually turned on your equipment. And by the way, people know me, like I just started using Serato in 2023. I just want to put that out there.
He was a purist.
Yeah, I'm a purist.
Stuck with the vinyls.
And we just turned on the laptop, and I didn't know what I was doing with and I think some of those scratches made the cut. From that session.
Because I mean, you were like super thinking about it. I was
I
like,
wasn't
bro,
feeling
just
it,
give me some random scratches and I'll make it work.
Because I wanted to go back to the crib and do it. And I think I still sent you something when I went back home.
Yeah, you did some more cuts.
But when I heard it, I was like, oh, he actually used the ones that I didn't think we were going to use.
No, because you had a couple like really nice parts that popped in.
Kinda
and I wanted to bring more of your sample back, some of the vocal samples in there.
Yeah, you did your thing. He did his thing. I mean, he got the executive producer credit as well.
Right. No, definitely. Pugs was kind of like the captain of the ship,
exactly,
and that was a cool. I think that it made the process easier. We were here in Chicago. He would pop into the studio when he could make it. Y'all were in Texas, but it needed that leadership, to kind of guide the ship. So, to me, as someone who's the engineer, because I've been engineering certain projects, and if that guiding light isn't really there, like you're hoping, it can be difficult. The logistics of like the file management and this and that. So,
is it right? Is this song right? Is this what we're supposed to be making?
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt. So I was actually very grateful for that side of it. And real quick too, Art Bank. That's a dedication to the Art Bank that's on the South Side. The Art Center.
Yeah.
So
because I just went to like a really dope party with Dwayne Powell. There, it was like me and my mom and my son. and all of us were just in there like going, like, you know, and it was like a room full of people just vibing, and it
Right.
like it reminded me of when I was younger, and we'll go to those loft parties and that. So I was like, we gotta write about this.
True. Word. So then we had Let It Be was next. I'm just gonna keep going through every track because this is like I felt like since we was the ones who actually recorded this will be the interview that covers every track, right? All the
Yeah,
way
go
through.
for it. It's your show, man.
Cool. So Let It Be, that had the real, you know, it almost sounds like a live band, that beat. That beat's a Catch 22 beat.
Catch 22.
Correct? Yeah. And I remember when I got those stems and I was mixing it, I was like, oh, this is like you're in the room with these musicians.
Yeah.
The beat
was nice.
had that vibe, you know. And originally you did a different hook to that.
Yeah, because it was a filler because the sync couldn't come that day.
Okay.
So I was just like, all right, let's, because for me, I'm a person where it's like, we need to take advantage of the time and just throw all ideas out there. If something works, it works. If don't, we take it out.
Right.
Because even with tracks, I never really picked like who's going to go first when we recorded. I always listen to everything first and then say what's needed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes you don't need the whole 18. Other times you need a 24 to make it.
Yes.
Feel it, you know. Yeah.
True indeed. Yeah. So, just I think Let It Be. It took a moment to kind of like slow it down. You're already kind of in the middle of the record now, so you can. I know for me, and you know, it's a shame in this modern era because I think people don't have as much of a habit to listen to albums all the way through. But listening to an album all the way through, for me, by the time I get to that song, like that, like fourth, fifth, or sixth, I want to feel like I'm really sitting back and I'm in the record now. Like I've closed the door. I have a private relationship with this record now. So that's what that song sounded like. Okay,
now it slows it down and brings you in because now you can hear everything we're saying, and then the way like Audacity croons with the reverb and the echo and the delay, like it's just nasty, man. He pulled the soul out, man.
Yeah. I remember he looked over to me at some point when he was singing, and he was like, "Ooh, that sound pretty good on there." You know what I'm saying? So that was cool, and that was good for me to hear as an engineer because I want people when they come into the studio space to feel at home. You don't want to feel like all the equipment's fired up and
well,
and
it's going to work. It won't be any vibes. It will just
exactly.
Be like, I must perform now.
Nah. You know, you want people to just like, you know, let it be. Just fall into the groove. They don't have to notice that none of this is happening. They're just in their element, in their artistic zone. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's when the magic happens. I mean, think about like some of your favorite sessions you had. There was probably nobody getting paid, and everybody just was there because they wanted to be there.
That's right.
To me, that's always the glue that makes it so different. Because everybody's just trying to make the best thing.
True indeed.
No ego.
So on the next track, we have Jule's Briefcase, and this is featuring singer Katrina Blackstone.
Yeah.
So so let's talk about that record. This is the first record. Well, we had Housepital, but
we did that one first. Yeah.
So actually, Jule's Briefcase was literally the first song we recorded. There was a house element on Housepital, but I think Jule's Briefcase sounds a little more like traditional, like four to the floor, like
rolls.
And the thing about it is that I am clearly not a house music producer. You know, like I don't make house beats. So that Housepital was my attempt at making a house track. Because I told Catch, I said, man, you know, like I was really feeling his house joint. I said, let me see if I could cook something up real quick so we could send him more to choose from. You know?
And they kind of knew what I was gonna pick. They're like, he always picked these same songy rap beats.
Yeah. And by the way, that's my favorite track on there is that house track that Catch did.
Oh, the Jule's Briefcase? That's your favorite song on the whole album?
Yeah, I'll just put it out there because
that set the tone. Yeah, I mean that's like after I sent that, you're like, oh, okay, I see where you're going.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
I love that track.
And you've been working with Katrina Blackstone for a while now?
Yeah. Like we met maybe 2009, 2010 on tour. Like I was playing a show, me and Vadim with our group, The Electric. It was like us, India, Irie, and then what's dude from the Bay that passed?
Actor?
No, with the Z. Zion. It was with him. It was us three. But we hit it off then, and then like she had done a couple of things for Vadim, and I was on a few of those songs, and I was like, oh man, let's pull it back because the kind of beat it was kind of dancey, and see what it is. I didn't know if it was gonna happen though, because she was in Bali and it was the middle of a storm, and she was like, "All I got is a phone to record on. Can't make it to the studio, like all of this." And then she made something happen with her phone and sent those vocals, and we were good to go, man.
Yeah, those vocals were just fine to mix.
Mhm.
Very impressed on a nice phone recording. That's dope.
Yeah.
Word. So then, all right, 93. I feel like once we get to this song, this is kind of pivotal moment of the album, because I feel like this is where the narrative really comes into play. The beat has a slower version of the beat, a faster version of the beat. You're talking with your, like it's as if you're talking with your mom, you know, you're a kid, you know what I'm saying? So let's talk about that song, because I feel like, you know, in terms of like taking you on a journey, like that's the song. Like now you're really in the narrative.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that record, I really wanted just to give you all the information so you understand where I'm coming from. You know, 'cause people always say retro and, you know, all these kind of things, but those are simple terms if there's nothing backing it. You know?
Right.
So it's kind of like putting you, this is what I've experienced. These are how these things played out for me. And this is kind of what it felt like, you know. The beginning of the song super fast. 'Cause when you're younger, you have no worries, really. You know, it's simple worries. Will I get candy? Can I stay up? You know, like, well, that's it. Can I get lunch money?
Right.
You know, as you get older, that's when it starts to weigh. That's why the beat slows down. So it's basically to 20 on the first verse and then 20 and up
Right.
on the second verse of just the reality of life. Yeah.
Word.
That one there, as far as the beat goes, like I had this record where they said in 1993, and I just could never figure out how to flip it. I could not flip that sample, and I've been holding on to that joint for years. And then when we were going to work on this project, I said, "Man, I got to do something with this." So I revisited the sample, and I was able to perfect it. And one of the reasons why is because I moved to Houston, so I won't give the sample out, but it's very up tempo sample, the original. So when I moved to Houston, I learned to slow down my sound. So that's what I did with that sample. I slowed it all the way down, which ironically, you wanted to speed it up. So it was hilarious. Like when we were talking about that, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do that." I wasn't able to do it on the MPC. So shout out Zesto for, I think you were able to like speed it up, or did you speed it up?
Now
on
sped
your
it up and then
Yeah,
he
Pugs
put
set
it
that up.
together.
Yeah,
He put it the two together because it was like
The
mine
way
was a
that-
little
yeah.
clunky with the
The
way
mix
they were
was
mixing
good.
together.
Yeah, Pugs would come through with like a lot of things kind of prepped.
Right.
And then, but I remember like we had a couple sessions that were just kind of about like stitching things together.
Right.
You know, he would kind of say, "Yo, Zach, move this way, do this. Yo, I got samples, toss this in there. Can we mix it a certain way? And that was cool. So I like that kind of like creative collage work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It brought out a lot of character in that song.
Yeah, you did your thing on that as well with the mix, so props
it
to
was
you for
solid.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what?
I've actually had people hit me up and it's like, "Hello, fellow Spotify artists. Who mixed down your album?"
Really?
Like, yeah.
I used to, oh, wow.
I was like, okay, Spotify artist. I'll roll with that. That's cool.
That's funny.
Good looks. And to that point, this is the first album that I've, recorded, mixed and mastered that's also getting pressed to vinyl.
Yeah,
So
May 20th, get ready.
May
Yes.
20th.
Get
I
your
didn't even know the date on
ducats.
that.
Get your
Yeah.
ducats.
Get your ducats up May 20th. It was such good news to hear back, because I know when things get sent to the vinyl house for the pressing and they're going to do the test pressing and repair those things, often they'll get back to the engineer like, "Slow your roll. This wasn't right," or this or that.
You gotta fix it. Yeah.
You could fix this or that. And we got no callbacks. So I was like, all right, we must have done some shit right on
It
this
was
one.
solid. It was solid because we even had the meeting where I was like, "Man, do you think we'll have to get another mix?"
Yeah, we talked
And
about
then
that.
catching. We were
Yeah.
like, "No, just send the mix. I think Zest still got us."
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. And
We're
you
confident
know,
in you, man.
I've been engineering for a while, but I would say like the past maybe like 5 years especially, I was able to hone in. I had recordings before that I thought were great. And then when you learn something, you realize, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board and get these skills up. So, we all met at a good time where
We met you at your stride.
you met me in my engineering stride.
He was
So,
like, "I got this."
shameless plug real quick, hit me up.
Yeah. Holla at him,
Just
man.
holla
You need
at
that.
me.
You need the mixes. You need the recording. He got
A great recording is next to godliness. You know what I'm saying? So I hold that up in the highest regard. And that's what I'm striving for. Anyway, regardless, let's move on. to the next track. So Pugs just let us know that they actually shot a video for the next song, the Southside Spades game, which that had that more like you could see yourself chilling in like a juke joint, you know, nice gear, everyone's
bouncy.
little bouncy, you know,
You can
everyone's
play it up, play it down. It's the vibes.
Yeah.
that's
Definitely
right,
the
that's right.
vibes.
So
Sunglasses on. you know.
sunglasses on. Okay, so if you can, I don't know how much you want to give up about the video, or if you want to make it a surprise, but let's talk about that song a little bit.
Yeah, so the title was actually going to be an EP with me and Jeremiah J. I just haven't put out the EP. And I was just like, man, I really like that title. And I was just like, man, I'm gonna have to give it to the song. Because I wrote the song, you know, and I was just like, just go with it. Like, I'm talking about cards and running the Spades game and, you know, flipping similes, metaphors from that, but then talking about what I kind of been through in the sense of how I got into it, you know. Because I mean, the first line is like, "Pops was playing swing down, sweet chariot." You know, I'm talking. He's playing me George Clinton, and he's like showing me like, "Yo, this is it. You see this cover? Crazy, right?" You know. So it's like giving you my foundation in it, and then from there, just taking that thought and hitting like other things that move me.
Word.
In popular culture.
And your son's on the record too.
Yeah, he did the
Yeah.
he popped up a little home studio. Was like, I want to go, Dad. I was like, okay, what you got? And he hit me with the
Word.
Is that his first appearance?
his first appearance on purpose. Because usually in a lot of my verses, he'll be just talking randomly in the joint. I'll be like, keep it. It sounds cool.
Put it in there, yeah, for sure.
Word. So on the next track, we got Doing Say featuring Taiwan Davis.
Yeah, man.
So
that's a lot of people's favorite, that record.
Yeah.
Word.
And we just did the lyric video for it, and that boy was rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was more like the once you kind of came out of that last narrative from the last track, that's kind of back to the boom bap, back to like the, come right at you, with direct message, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or commentary on current Chicago.
Okay.
I didn't told you how it was. Now this is how it is right now. Yeah, from that. And then like at that point, me and Taiwan, we had recorded a couple songs in that window. So it was just like, all right, let's see what else we can make, And each song was very different from each other. So it was kind of fun to like go this way. Because I think the other record we did was more of like a record to our wives. And then the record after that we did was just like talking about this loose growing up. So this was like got to get a little poor righteous teacher ex-clanny in there.
True.
And it was great to have him live in studio recording.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah. Usually he don't even go to people's studios because he got his own joint. So it was a nice occasion to have him in the studio getting loose.
That's what's up. Yeah.
And me and him, we would record where you don't get any ad-libs and you got to do the whole joint one take.
Yeah.
So it was like that air was in the room. You gotta kill it.
Right.
I still encourage that, to any MC vocalists out there when you're doing your verses. It just brings a different level of performance out of you. Like I've recorded a lot of people across the years, they use the studio as a creative tool. So obviously you could punch in, and that's cool too. There's actually a lot of people who've created, made a great art out of punching in. So, not to knock it.
I mean, I punch in a lot because I like how it sounds. Like when you get those other voices to pop with it. So it gives it like this trippy collage thing.
Yes.
But then there's certain feelings you get when it's straight through. Like for instance, the Spades game, I could do that with just acoustic guitar and it's going to feel the same because of the way the flow is, in comparison to punching.
Word. Yeah, no, it's just interesting, how that pulls different performances out of people and the vibe. I was thinking about punching in though years ago, and I was like, I feel like Slick Rick is the one who really
he
introduced
kicked
that.
it off because he had the different voices, and Biz Marquis as well with the different voices. But I would say like the person that made it really pop to me was probably your Madlib, Quasimodo, your Edon, your what's the producer that raps? He retired from rapping from New York. man, I'm trying to think about this man. He was J Zone.
J-Zone, oh, my man.
He was
Yeah, I
another
love
one that
J-Zone.
would go crazy with
No,
the
he
samples.
was crazy. With
And for me, that was always my favorite part of making music,
J-Zone.
was collaging all these things. I mean, one year I recorded just a bunch of random conversations with different graffiti writers and bringing it together to make an album. You know what I mean? I love that found audio sound. Like it just gives a nice,
I
like,
love that album.
piece of character to it.
I love that album with all the writers on there. Yeah, that's definitely joint right there.
Playing with matches. Yeah. Probably the first ever album about graffiti in a real way.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the next track. We got Even Tom Got Shot. So obviously now the commentary is even getting
It's getting heavier
heavier.
now, yeah. But it's based on the painting I have of it looks kind of like Boys in the Hood meets Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, because Tom is in the red car from Boys in the Hood when they're about to shoot Duder, and Tom's gun is going in the house, but then it's coming back out the house at him, and his head is blown. But like that painting was like super powerful at the art show, so I was just like, man, I do need to make some type of fitting music to go with it. You know, and I like what came from it. That's another one I feel like to just have an acoustic guitar and saying the words would be powerful enough.
Right.
Because I remember you asked me to take out the drums.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how it was gonna come out, the final product.
Because I wanted it to build.
Exactly.
Because it's so serious.
And I heard it really works well. And then when the drum does come in, we went back and forth because I needed it to be perfect. It sounds almost like a gunshot with the snare, like
drum rolls.
you know, the way it comes in. So it's like perfect.
Word.
And I believe the original title that I sent you, it was called No Shooting.
Yeah.
And I made
that was one I held on to forever. I was just sitting on that and
That's
Uber from
beat,
O'Hare, like those two. I used to play them in the store, and people were always like, "Man, whose beats are these? This is dope." And I was like, "One day, it's coming."
Top secret. But yeah, those two beats are like, I sent you those a long time ago. And going back to Catch 22, like I didn't know he was sending you beats. I was just sending you beats, and then he wasn't telling me he was sending you beats. So it's kind of hilarious that like you got beats from both of us, and then finally.
When y'all were like, we worked together, I was like, all right, that makes sense. Yeah. I can make a whole record, you know.
Because I wasn't even talking to him about that. I was sending you beats. That's the funny thing. He just kind of came up with the idea, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you picked those two of my favorite beats. Because I know Shooting means a lot to me just because of the title alone. You know, well, obviously, even Tom Got Shot, but yeah, man, you really did your thing on that, man. So props on that one. You know?
All right, so then closing out the record, we actually have the title track, Mookie on the Southside. And that song to me definitely sounds, it's got, you know, classic sort of soul kind of sample. And it kind of sounds like theme music, you know.
No, definitely going for like the movie trailer. You see the titles go and this is playing.
Right.
Kind of vibe.
Kind of up tempo. That's featuring Hexagon, who did his thing on the hook. He sounds great.
He's a dope producer, but he got them vocals, man, on my Test Drive album. Like he had produced 2 records, and I was just sending him the roughs, and he was sending back with these extra vocals, and I'm like, bro, who's that? He's like, that's me. Yeah, you singing on all my joints, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
He's super cold. Big up, man.
As soon as I loaded up those stems, I was like, man, this guy's got a nice voice, and it just sounded great on the record. So, you know, from there, you know, I just, you know, like I said, like the whole album, it's really got a nice, like, takes you on a journey. I really encourage anyone who hasn't sat down and listened to an entire project in a while, don't skip around this one. Don't play it out of order. Do yourself a favor and actually listen to it all the way from the start to the finish one time.
Yeah. Enjoy the movie.
Enjoy the movie. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, what I'll say about it is that it is literally a work of art soundtrack. I mean, it is it's artwork on wax. I mean, it will be on wax soon. So
that's what's up.
By the way, this will be my first ever vinyl release for me as a producer.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So
wow.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah. So, I'm so excited.
In there. That's what's up, man. We all about first. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, and I just want to, before we get out of here, I want to just touch upon the Learning Lab and your space here again. I know we spoke about it up front at the beginning, but
yeah, just it. Thanks.
Okay. And oh, that's what's up. So, but yeah. As I look around the room, I almost feel like I'm sitting in an art gallery space that's kind of like the album. You know what I mean? So maybe you could just kind of to wrap things up, talk about what you're doing with your artwork now and how, the Mookie on the Southside album is also influencing what your work is doing going forward.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say at this point in my career, it's at this fever pitch where everything is connected together. And I mean, it's something I wanted for a long time. So I'm just super happy to be able to live in that space and keep creating from that space. But in here, I mean, I have a bunch of paintings from the original exhibit, and I have a bunch of newer paintings and sculptures that have come since then. And then in the bins, I have books and toys and other things that I've made throughout my journey. So it's just, giving you some background on it and then seeing the possibility, because this is the learning lab. So I wanted to present my work in a way where people can learn from it. So my workshops is you can create your own brand, learn how to create your own brand, and then create your first product as a t-shirt, and then create your own album cover. But showing people other ways to use art and to use commerce, to your own benefit.
Right.
And, feel good about it. I mean, it's been interesting just to see people write these essays under some of the questions for the t-shirt brand to get them started, and them being like, wow, I didn't know I had that in me, or they draw the drawing, and I can't. Well, shit, can't.
Yeah, no doubt.
Gotta let it go. So I mean, it's an awesome opportunity, and I'm happy to be here and happy that we could have this moment. Yeah.
That's what's up. And real one, maybe any final thoughts that you was having about, just not only what you did on the production side, but just, your feelings of how it all came together.
Well, it came out better than expected, because to be honest with you, like he spoke about earlier, we didn't really know. We just kind of wanted to make an album, but we didn't know it was going to be this.
Yeah, they thought I was gonna mail it in. They thought I was just gonna
We-
send them
yeah,
a bunch
we
of
just-
verses and be like, all right,
yeah.
y'all, peace.
And I remember I specifically wanted to record in person, because you usually do at home sometimes in your studio, but I specifically wanted to do it at Just Made Media because I wanted to have that vibe. I wanted everybody to be in the same building. So
I think it was a good call. I
Yeah.
think that definitely changed the
Yeah.
outcome of the record.
It did, and you can feel it on there when you listen to it. If people haven't heard it yet, you'll feel the energy that was in that room at that moment. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank Zesto Q for your mixing and mastering. You did your thing on that.
Zesto.
And also, we got a shout out my man Catch 22 out in San Antonio, who's my production partner.
The elusive Catch 22.
Right.
Yeah, man. Good luck trying to get a hold of him, man. You know what I'm saying? Catch 22, we see you.
That's what's up. That's what's
Big
up.
up to the whole Just Made Media team. And thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Big shout out to my wife, Gigi. GGQ in the background, always holding down
background scenes.
always holding down the social
Videos
media.
fire.
Chase.
And all those things really helped me with the administration, with the business and all that. And then my right hand man over there, Chase Calor,
Sir.
on the
Doing your thing.
on the engineer boards today.
You sound French.
Yo.
Chase Calor.
Chase Calor, Chase Ivan Calor, right? So anyway, we wouldn't be able to do these tapings, video tapings without them. They make it all possible.
Thank you, guys.
You know what I'm saying? So, and with that, we say peace.
Peace.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Mookie.
Mookie on the South Side.
Play that music.